high above our heads, in the silent vacuum of low Earth orbit, a revolution is unfolding that is fundamentally changing the nature of power on Earth. A shimmering web of thousands of Starlink satellites is wrapping the planet in a digital cocoon, granting a single private corporation more strategic influence than most sovereign nations. This is not just about bringing internet to remote villages or connecting the unconnected. This is about the ultimate high ground. In the age of autonomous warfare, instant intelligence, and hyperscale data, the entity that controls the low Earth orbit controls the flow of information that decides the fate of nations. This is the story of Starlink's secret strategic value, and why space has become the most contested and dangerous geopolitical battlefield of the 21st century. The world first realized the terrifying extent of this power during the early, chaotic days of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. When traditional communication lines were decapitated by Russian cyberattacks and kinetic strikes, Starlink stepped into the vacuum, becoming the essential nervous system of the Ukrainian resistance. It enabled drone pilots to target tanks from miles away and kept the government connected to the world. But this dependency also revealed a shocking new geopolitical reality. A private citizen, Elon Musk, now possessed the unilateral power to decide the outcome of major military operations. The Musk Foreign Policy was born, a world where a billionaire's personal philosophy and shifting moods could suddenly override the strategic goals and national security interests of global superpowers.
Drone attack. Rus Navy. Activating Starlink from government officials to Sevastopol was an urgent demand. Musk sent to X on Thursday. Elon Musk defends the restrictions on the military use of Ukraine's Starlink satellites. Tapper asked Blinken whether will effectively sabotage military operation after effective sabotaging by Ukraine. Ally against Russia. U.S. ally. An ally. Jake. I can't talk to a specific section. Here's what I can say you Starlink. Ukrainians with each other and especially communicate all of the army and efforts communicate. Oram I don't know that he can't talk to him. You won't talk to him. He fired. Jake. I can't talk about conversations that may or not. Starlink seems be very important. U.S. government does not want to take the risk of blaming a capricious billionaire who does some things I think in other situation. May want say something about U.S. government? But let's continue. Musk's tweet last week. Walter Isaacson's new biography of the Washington Post. Elon Musk came in the middle of an excerpt. However, Musk said that there is never the scope of Starlink in Crimea. Musk thanked Isaacson for the mission and said, "When I refused to make a request from Ukraine and a deliberate change to prevent Ukraine onus is meaningful." Musk. I or any of the SpaceX techie never looked at the Crimea. He wrote, they wanted. SpaceX is similar for the US government, but it builds a lot of Starshield. It will not have to manage millions of users smaller than Starlink. This system will belong to the US government and be controlled. Mikhailo Podolyak, the best assistant of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
But the civil version of Starlink was only the proof of concept. Recognizing the extreme vulnerability of relying on a commercial, dual-use network, the Pentagon and SpaceX began the quiet development of a much darker, more specialized cousin, Starshield. Unlike the public Starlink network, Starshield is a classified, military-grade constellation designed specifically for national security. It is a massive $0.8 billion secret contract that turns the sky into an omnipresent sensor array. These satellites are capable of high-resolution surveillance and secure, jam-resistant communications, effectively giving the U.S. military a permanent, unblinking eye over every square inch of the planet, 24 hours a day.
Use, with a focus on Earth observation, global communications and customer payload missions. SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell said last year there was a very good collaboration between the company and the intelligence community. The Defense Department has previously used SpaceX's Falcon 9 rockets to launch military payloads into space, according to Reuters. SpaceX is under investigation over Russia's alleged use of the company's Starlink internet terminals in its war with Ukraine, a pair of House Democrats announced earlier this month. Reps. Jamie Raskin, DMD, and Robert Garcia, D. Caliph, wrote a letter to the company indicating concern it did not implement appropriate guardrails and policies, preventing Russia from using Starlink's internet service. Raskin and Garcia said the probe would involve the Pentagon and other government agencies. SpaceX and Musk have denied claims SpaceX was selling Starlink terminals to Russia, suggesting reports claiming otherwise were categorically false. The probe follows claims from Ukraine's intelligence agency, which cited radio intercepts of conversations between Russian forces in eastern Ukraine that suggested Starlink terminals were installed to establish internet access. Musk is the third richest person in the world with a net worth of $188.5 billion, according to our latest estimates. Musk's SpaceX is building spy satellite network for U.S. intelligence agency, sources say. Reuters. Elon Musk's SpaceX under investigation by Democrats over Russia's alleged Starlink use. Forbes.
The true strategic value of Starlink doesn't just lie in the technology, but in the sheer, overwhelming scale of its deployment. Because SpaceX owns the Falcon 9 and the upcoming Starship, the most efficient rockets in history, they can launch satellites at a cadence that no government can match. Currently, SpaceX manages more active satellites than the rest of the world combined. This vertical integration has created an orbital monopoly. Adversaries like Russia and China are now in a desperate scramble to build their own constellations, realizing that in a modern conflict, without a presence in low Earth orbit, a nation is essentially fighting blind, deaf, and disconnected.
Systems fail. But Starlink is not the only satellite venture from SpaceX. Less known is their military project, codenamed Starshield, which aims to build a satellite constellation with the support of a $1.8 billion contract with the US Department of Defense. Despite the glossy and marketable name, Starshield is shrouded in secrecy. It's designed for government use to support national security, but how? And at what cost? I'm Alex McColgan and you're watching Astrum. Join me in our skies today as we attempt to decode the corporate speak of the SpaceX Starshield operation and what it means for our security, privacy, and everyday lives. We'll explore what Starshield actually is and how it links to SpaceX's more commercial satellite project, the Starlink mega constellation. As satellite populations continue to boom, we'll explore the background that is our new age space race, how the players have changed, and who is really in charge of this final frontier. Before we march into the atmospheric battlefield, let's take a closer look at a more family-friendly SpaceX satellite project, Starlink. First announced in 2015, Starlink was designed for the purpose of rebuilding the internet in space and aimed to place 4,000 satellites in low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit is standard for most satellites, even the International Space Station, and can be anywhere between 160 and 2,000 kilometers above Earth's surface. The goal of this system is connectivity where you least expect it. You need only plug the system in and point it at the sky with their antenna to get online. Besides digital gameplay in the mountains or taking a work call on the beach, the idea of worldwide internet connection actually has the potential for some really positive social change. Schools in remote areas of Fiji and the Solomon Islands have employed the use of Starlink to access digital teaching resources, which is making education more accessible for all. The Starlink fleet can be used to aid communications in the event.
As our orbit becomes increasingly crowded, the risk of a catastrophic collision increases exponentially. We are witnessing the start of an orbital arms race that could trigger the Kessler syndrome, a chain reaction of debris that could render space unusable for centuries. Yet, for the world's powers, the strategic value of the high ground is simply too great to ignore. Sovereignty in the 21st century is no longer just about territory or borders on a map. It's about the dominance of the signals traveling through the vacuum above us. The nation that loses the stars, loses the future. Starlink has fundamentally altered the center of gravity of global power. It has moved the front lines from the trenches of the Earth to the silence of the stars. As this network continues to expand, it forces us to confront a new reality where a private company holds the keys to global stability. The battle for the ultimate high ground has only just begun, and the stakes have never been higher. Space is no longer the final frontier, it is the front line. The race for the stars is the most important story of our time. Subscribe to stay at the cutting edge of the technology and geopolitics that are redefining human civilization. The age of orbital power is here, and we are just getting started.